get back to the morning show with Terry.
Good morning.
Right here on ICRT.
What a morning.
It is 9:39 in the morning, and joining us here, we've got the chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce in Taipei, Taiwan at large, Alan Eusden, who is going to tell us a little bit about the 2013 White Paper. Good morning, Alan. How are you?
Good morning, Terry. I'm very well, thanks, and thanks a lot for this opportunity.
No problem. Let's just begin here, and we've talked about past white papers before, but why don't we begin with just kind of reminding people exactly what a white paper is?
Okay. And what I have to start with is that for us, this is a really exciting day to get the 2013 edition of the Taiwan White Paper out. We've been doing this since about 1996. It started very small. Now it covers 24 different industry committees and groups, and it's really specifically focused on recommendations from these committees to Taiwan's government, both high level and general level, to look at how the business climate in Taiwan can be made even better. We then use this throughout the rest of this year as the core of our advocacy agenda, both when we meet with Taiwanese government officials, but also when we go to the U.S. and speak to U.S. elected officials.
Right. Now, what would some of the highlights be for this year's 2013 White Paper?
It's an interesting mixture. Our business climate, our annual business climate survey shows that our members think that Taiwan's a very good place to do business in most respects, but also feel that there has to be more done for Taiwan to reach its full potential, and especially to maintain its competitiveness compared to other Asian economies.
Right.
When you look at three of the key things that we address in our overview, the first is the need to get more foreign business investment to help to reinvigorate the economy. Taiwan ranks very low within this region, and in fact, this past year, Taiwan was at about one-third the foreign direct investment level of Korea. A lot of things would have to be done to help to turn that around, but really a key focus for us is to make sure that regulations for international investment are based on international norms and standards rather than being more unique to Taiwan.
Okay, that's sort of point one, right?
Point one.
Okay.
Second one is that we believe that Taiwan has to participate more in the emerging regional trade blocs. We think especially a Trans-Pacific partnership, and we'd like to see a high-level task force set up to try and push for membership in the TPP. And then finally, a key one for especially the larger international businesses is to make sure that Taiwan has sufficient energy supply for the coming decade. And this is not necessarily a question specifically about the fourth nuclear plant, but with or without it, the question is how will there be enough energy available to be able to power the industries for the future.
Right. Now, most of these points, or at least the three that you're kind of focusing on there, have to do, as you said, with kind of big business and large industry. Is there anything that addresses, and only because I know the white paper has more than just these 3 points. Obviously, this is a very detailed analysis. And is there anything for sort of smaller business owners or even people who are not involved in the business community per se? Is there anything in there that you guys do on a year-to-year basis that's in the white paper like that?
Sure. And so we do go through, as you go through the list of all the issues that are raised in the white paper, you'll find that some of them get down to being very, 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 very specific and very consumer-oriented as well.
Right.
But then also in terms of some of the broader issues that we focus on, for instance, one of them in the last few years was the visa waiver for entrance into the U.S., and that, of course, has now happened. And that's great because that impacts anybody who would be traveling into the U.S. And so we see this as not just being big business focused, also small business focused, but also in general areas that we believe are good for the U.S. and Taiwan to be focusing on together.
And you mentioned the success of the American Waiver Program, or at least when you guys mentioned it. Would you say then that the white paper has had successes in sort of pointing some of these things out to both the American and the Taiwanese governments?
Certainly. And so three of the big things that we were talking about, that we've been talking about for the last few years, were the resumption of the TIFA talks, the economic talks between the U.S. and Taiwan, the visa waiver program, and also getting higher level visits from U.S. government officials into Taiwan, all have started to succeed more. Visa waiver has been most successful. TIFA talks have started back up, and we have seen more high-level visits. And so we do see some good progress in those areas. We always find that when we talk to both the Taiwanese government officials and the U.S. government officials, that we get a good hearing. They're absolutely willing to listen. Sometimes there's not as fast response and not as much action as we like, but we always get a good audience.
Excellent. If there's anybody that's interested in kind of going through this for themselves, because as I mentioned, it is a very detailed and there's a lot of issues that are raised, not just the ones you're talking about here today. I know you guys, and Dawn's usually on, put this in and devote an entire issue to the white paper for your Topics magazine, but is there anywhere else that people can go and read it online or anything like that?
Absolutely. It's for sale in the major bookstores, and then also you can get it online at the AmCham website, which is amcham.com.tw. And Terry, if you don't have your personal copy yet, we'll make sure to send you one.
No, I get my personal copies of the Topics magazine, absolutely. I was just actually curious if people could actually go and read the white paper itself, if that was made online at all.
That's right, so they can.
Okay, good, excellent. Alan, thank you very much for joining us here this morning and raising some of those issues on our behalf as consumers and people doing business here in Taiwan.
Terry, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate the support.
Thanks so much, Alan.
All right.
All right. Alan Eusden is the chairman of the American Chamber of Commerce here in Taipei and Taiwan at large. We continue with music. We're turning to Styx here on